This is Luke with Aero Ambulances, and today we're going to talk about a real-world situation. When you get a call, you go to the ambulance garage and the ambulance will not start. So first thing we need to do is get the ambulance started, and in order to achieve that, we will either use jumper cables or we will use an external booster pack to get it started. Now that the truck is running, we're going to want to leave the booster pack or the jumper cables attached to the batteries for a few extra minutes. And by that, we're trying to achieve two things. Number one, we're trying to get more energy transferred into the batteries. And two, we're trying to give the alternators of the chassis ample time to start generating energy to recharge your system. So now that the truck is running, we can disconnect the booster pack and the jumper cables, and it'll be self-sustained running on its own power. But now we need to verify the battery voltage is above 10.5 or below 10.5. Your battery voltage can be viewed on your instrument cluster right on your chassis. If it is below 10.5, we might have issues with the batteries or the onboard chassis alternator not functioning. In that case, you would want to contact your local service shop for added support. If it is above 10.5, then go ahead and make your call. Just got to make sure that you leave the vehicle running at all times so the alternator can continue to charge your batteries. Now that we're back at the station, we need to figure out why that ambulance didn't start to begin with. So in order to do that, the first thing we want to check are the batteries. We want to make sure that the cables are tight, not corroded or anything of that nature. And once you've verified that, the very next thing we want to check is to make sure we're getting power through the shoreline so when you plug your truck in, it stays charged. Best way to do that is just take the shoreline and plug in any household item, whether it be a vacuum cleaner or a drill, a shop light, heat gun, something of that nature, just to make sure that it does have power. If it does not have power, one of the first things to check would be the actual breaker on the building itself. And if that is not tripped, you possibly might have a bad shoreline cord itself. So now that we've verified we have power at the shoreline cord, now we need to get it plugged into the truck receptacle and make sure the charger is functioning as it should. A couple of easy ways you can do that is to look at the visual indicator on the outside of the box. It'll give you a blinking light telling you that the charger is in fact charging. And you can also look on the inverter itself, the inverter charger, to make sure that the bulk absorption light is lit as well. If the charge indicator is not blinking, there may be a couple scenarios in play. One, the inverter charger might actually be bad. If that's the case, you can call us here at Aero. We can help facilitate that repair, whether it be on the service side or supplying the parts. The other thing that plays a part in this is if the batteries are not above 10.5 volts, the charger actually will not kick in to charge your batteries. So those are the two important things you need to verify. So once your batteries have reached full charge, the blinking light on the charge indicator will actually go to a solid green and no longer blink, indicating that it is at full charge status. Now that we've verified the charge indicators are blinking, next you can hop in the chassis and look at the instrument panel and find your battery gauge and make sure that the voltage is reading between 12 and 14 volts. If it is under 12 volts, you may have an underlying issue with the batteries and they may need to be replaced at this point. So if everything else checks out and you're still wondering why the ambulance didn't start, there may be two other factors to keep in mind. One might be the actual connection at the shoreline junction, and the other might be that the charger is starting to fail on you. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to us here at Aero.